Syrian and Palestinian objectives.
Israel must move on all the fronts, on the Egyptian front, the Syrian front, the Jordanian front, the Palestinian front.
At a time when Arafat wanted to replace Israel with a Palestinian state, Sadat pledged unity.
You see, we are cooperating together. And as we have mentioned, there are three partners: Egyptians, Syrians, and the Palestinians.
2 restless years passed. Then, Israeli elections brought forth a leader determined to hold on to the West Bank and Gaza.
What occupied territories? If you mean Judea, Samaria, and the Gaza Strip, they are liberated territories. They are an integral part of the land of Israel.
The new prime minister made the building of settlements his first priority. Settlements like the new town of Yamit, where 5,000 Jews lived in the Sinai. Begin was highly suspicious of Sadat.
Sadat is an implacable enemy of Israel. This is also the truth. He is no fool, but he is an enemy.
Sadat's response would write his name indelibly into the history books. He announced he would make a keynote speech to the Egyptian parliament. He invited the leader of the PLO to attend.
Arafat was happy to be in the parliament, and he was happy that Sadat is paying attention to the Palestinian problem.
السادات then ابتعد عن الورق المكتوب وابتدى يتكلم من دماغه.
Sadat put his text aside, but he carried on speaking. I told the foreign minister, he is about to throw a political grenade.
After 7 years of trying everything else but talking to Israel, Sadat broke the ultimate Arab taboo.
I am willing to go anywhere. Israel will be surprised to hear that I am ready to go to them, even to the Knesset itself, and negotiate with them.
The idea that Sadat would negotiate directly with Israel was so unthinkable, the audience applauded without realizing what he had said.
Everyone was applauding Sadat. Even Yasser Arafat was clapping. I know, because he was sitting next to me.
In Tel Aviv, no one was sure if Sadat really meant it.
Sadat then said if Begin invited him, he would come next week.
The next day, Prime Minister Begin was hosting a lunch at the Hilton Hotel.
The head of CBS in Israel wanted Begin's reaction. Begin was eating at the head table. I went up and gave him the message. He said, sure, I'll invite Sadat from here.
Ladies and gentlemen, I hereby invite President Sadat on behalf of the government of Israel to come to Jerusalem and to start negotiations to establish permanent peace between Israel and Egypt.
Before accepting the invitation, Sadat flew to Syria to persuade President Assad that the trip to Jerusalem would not be a betrayal of the Arab cause.
We asked the president to arrest Sadat to stop him going anywhere.
But Assad considered Sadat his guest and preferred to hear him out.
President Assad was trying to make Sadat change his mind.
He told me, it will be proved that you are wrong. I said, very well, Assad. This is a sacred mission for me. And if this is going to be the last mission as a president, I shall be very happy to fulfill it.
President Assad was not impressed. They talked for 7 hours.
Assad's ministers urged him to act. The Presidential Guard was standing by.
President Assad refused. He said, "It is against the Arab tradition for a man to arrest his guest."
President Sadat returned safely to Egypt. 3 days later, he set off for Jerusalem.
I feared for his safety. We had been enemies for 40 years. He was putting himself at their mercy. He would be sleeping there that night. I was very anxious. Sadat's plane was late. I overheard a senior security officer talking. He was saying, "Hold on, maybe instead of Sadat there is a suicide squad on the plane, and they will jump out and kill the assembled Israeli leaders."
When we arrived in Tel Aviv, it was like I was coming to outer space. It means it was something completely new. I find myself in a car, sitting near Moshe Dayan, and we have to find how to begin a conversation. And I have read in the book that he was interested in archaeology. So I mentioned that I was interested in archaeology, and we begin to talk archaeology.
The Israeli people greeted Sadat's arrival from Egypt as though he were Moses, come again.
I come to you today with a firm desire to make peace.
Sadat offered peace, but he was careful not to abandon the other Arab states or the Palestinians.
There are Arab lands still under Israeli occupation. We insist on complete withdrawal from these territories, including Arab Jerusalem. It was quite a speech, quite disturbing. I passed a note to Begin saying we must be on our guard.
Ezra Weizmann, the defense minister, who was a great advocate for peace, said when he heard the speech that maybe we should mobilize the reserves.
The visitors went from the Knesset to a dinner in their honor.
It was a kind of dinner where there was not much talk. The atmosphere was cool.
President Sadat and Mr. Begin were not speaking to each other. They were sitting with their backs to each other. I decided to invite Ezer Weizmann and another minister up to my suite after dinner.
Mustafa Khalil told me, we have to do something. Otherwise, the whole trip will be without any follow-up. What about having a meeting together? I say, no objection.
So now I found myself sitting with our worst enemy at the King David Hotel, drinking Black Label.
I want to enter directly in the process and mentioning what are the problems of Cairo today and the problems of Egypt, and this is why we need peace.
I said, "Let me show you something." I took him to the window. I said, "Take a good look. Do you really think you can divide this city?"
I say the solution is this direct talk with the leadership of Israel, and through this direct talk, direct contact, everything will be solved.
It wasn't that simple. After the trip to Jerusalem, the two sides continued to talk for 7 months. But Begin would not give an inch.